Greetings, my saplings. Today we will be discussing the Travis Scott Air Max 270 Cactus Trails. Specifically, we will be discussing some release info, how to cop them, and of course, like always, some resale predictions. The Travis Scott Air Max 270 Cactus Trail drops this Friday, May 29th, for $170 in men's sizes, preschool for $135, and toddler for $95. The stock keeping unit for men is CT2864-200, preschool CV2414-200, and toddler CV2413-200. Stock on these isn't as bad as you guys might imagine. That's not to say these will be easy though, but in comparison to some other extremely limited drops that we've seen recently, such as the Ben & Jerry dunks, I think you will be reluctantly surprised to find that these won't be impossible to cop. But anyway, with the release info out of the way, let's jump into how to cop these. Let's talk about how you guys could get your hands on these. To start it off, I have posted a raffle list on my Twitter, KeithAdam10. Feel free to follow me there for more updates similar to this one, or even shock drops perhaps. Also, for those of you who have been asking, I will be doing a limited endurance restock June 1st, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. CEST, so feel free to set a reminder for that. But anyway, regarding all of these raffles, the essential goal here is to make as many entries as possible without getting your entries filtered out, basically by jigging or changing up your personal information slightly. I actually dedicated a large portion of one of my recent videos on how you could do this. In addition, I also went over how you can make a catch-all email step by step, which is very important when it comes to these, or also future drops of course as well. Just skip to around 3 minutes in that video if you didn't have a chance to watch it yet. I won't go over it again now just because I don't want to bore people who've already seen that on my channel. What I did want to discuss more in depth on the other hand is the biggest raffle, since that one will differ slightly. The biggest raffle will be the one hosted on Travis Scott's website, of course. First, when exactly should we expect this one to go live? Well, based off of prior drops, it should be live around 12 a.m. Eastern Time on the 29th, which is technically the night of the 28th in certain time zones. Regarding how to know exactly when it does go live, because obviously the raffle is not going to be open for a very long duration of time, I will tweet it out on my Twitter, KeithAdam10, just like I mentioned earlier, so feel free to give me a follow over there. You will be allotted a pretty decent amount of time to enter, so don't stress out too much. Long ago, these used to actually drop a really fun way through first come first serve, which were also somewhat stressful, but then some kid complained about it on Instagram after he took his L and it went viral, so now we have these fucking raffles. Anyway, just because they're raffles doesn't mean we can't still try to exploit them and increase our chances for copying. So when it does come to making multiple entries here, it's not quite as simple as the other raffles. Essentially, you'll want to follow everything we already mentioned about jigging to start with. For example, you'll need to change the last 2 digits of your phone number, which don't matter considering there's no verification process with the phone number, unlike when you're making Nike sneakers accounts. You'll want to add 4 random letters before your actual home address. Don't worry, they do still ship to your actual address. You could also try experimenting with adding an address line too, such as 1A, 1B, 1C. However, if you do live in an apartment, you want to keep this accurate, so don't bother tampering with it if you do live in the apartment. You will also need different payment methods. Virtual cards are fine here, such as privacy cards. There's no issue with privacy on Shopify at all. Or you could just borrow physical cards from family members, such as your wife, for example. But this isn't exactly the best thing to do, considering with privacy, you can make significantly more entries. Regarding the email address, I do not suggest using the dot trick here. I instead strongly suggest using the catch-all. Again, just like I mentioned earlier, feel free to check out my video regarding that so you can set that up step by step. It's much easier than a lot of you guys may think. It's very useful for numerous drops outside of raffles as well. And finally, what differentiates this from all the other raffles that are on my Twitter, this is the most important part, perhaps where the vast majority of entries are silently filtered out. It's through your IP address. Now, from a rational standpoint, the developer for the algorithm that is filtering out entries should know that sometimes a brother, sister, or father may all be entering the raffle under the same household, under the same IP. So from that rational standpoint, you would imagine that you should be able to make multiple entries from the same IP. Unfortunately, we can't confirm if this is the case. However, what we can confirm is that a large number of entries through the same IP will certainly get filtered out. The real question is if perhaps 3 to 5 under the same IP will stay. So here's my suggestion. We just play it safe regardless of what we think, regardless of the possibility of even 3 to 5 entries under the same IP sticking. We still should stick to only making 1 entry per IP, just because it's not as hard as you guys think, and I'm going to walk you guys through how you could do it yourself. So to kick it off, the most efficient way is if you do have a working proxy switcher and proxies to use and make 1 entry per IP. You should have a 1-to-1 ratio, essentially what I'm saying. I specifically suggest using residential proxies over data center proxies. They may very well be all filtered out because Shopify does now recognize the vast majority of data center subnets. The same goes for VPNs. I wouldn't suggest using them either. So preparing a proxy switcher on Chrome users in advance with residential proxies will certainly be the most effective way to get as many entries in as possible. However, what you can do though, if you don't happen to have a proxy switcher or any application to do this for you, is disable Wi-Fi on your phone, which will result in you using data rather than your Wi-Fi. Therefore, you will have a different IP. Then after making that 1 entry, go into settings on your phone, enable airplane mode, then disable it again. It won't give you a completely new IP, but it will change the majority of it. To be sure this is working properly and you have enabled and disabled it properly, you could Google my IP on your phone and you will check. You could take screenshots if you're a little unsure if it's actually changing, and just compare the screenshots to see that these are indeed changing. Although it's not completely different, that's 100% fine. It's essentially just going to prevent the algorithm from filtering out these entries. You could do this over and over and over again. It's completely fine. Make sure you have autofill already set up on the Chrome app so you could speed through this as fast as possible, although do keep in mind that you are going to have to slightly adjust your information on each of the entries because we want to jig it to make sure we're not getting our entries filtered out. Also, after each entry, in addition to enabling and disabling airplane mode, also clear cookies on the app. You could do this by clicking the 3 dots in the bottom right, then clicking history. Then after that, you could click clear cookies and data, select all the boxes, then simply on to the next entry. Get in as many as you can like this. The raffle's usually open for a pretty decent amount of time, so it's all about how much effort you're willing to put into this, and the more effort you're willing to put in, then the more likely you are to cop. Just keep in mind the vast majority of people that are going to be entering this, what I'm simply doing is giving you the best opportunity to cop. We can't guarantee it, of course, so even with these awful raffles, I would much rather have a first come first serve. I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree though. Keith Adam will always show you how you could exploit any of these opportunities to get you your best manual shot possible. We don't throw in the white towel over here, even though only 7 of us will probably cop. Moving on, of course, another amazing opportunity will be for Nike sneakers. Not only have they been doing an incredible job filtering out bot entries on very hyped releases, making it so the vast majority of success from bots is strictly from their browser modes, which is preventing a lot of entries in general, but there's certainly a vast majority of stock here as well. Sneakers US will be 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Europe will be 3 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. CST on the 29th, of course, and they will be Leo drops, let everyone order drops, which will essentially mean you will have several minutes to enter in all of your accounts. This may be stressful considering there is a men's, toddler, and preschool pair, and you're trying to get multiple accounts in within that short period of time, so speed and reflexes will certainly play a huge role here. My personal suggestion is to have a lot of devices already prepared in front of you. You could even have Chrome users prepared in front of you, although it's also worth mentioning when it comes to these extremely hyped drops, the majority of success has been occurring through the app over the last few months, unless it's a shock drop. For those of you who do need new sneakers accounts, unfortunately TARS is out of stock again. Stock's been flying recently due to the very hyped drops. I do apologize for this inconvenience, and I will make sure all of you guys who do need accounts will get accounts in the near future. Just give me some time, of course, and I will keep you guys updated. Speaking of updates, when it comes to any sneaker in general, feel free to subscribe and enable post notifications just so you're updated when it comes to all these hyped, profitable sneakers. Then moving on, at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, potentially there may be an undefeated.com drop. Essentially just refresh the page for Travis Scott. When you search, they do require accounts, so make sure you sign in beforehand and add your account details such as your address beforehand. If it's not 8 a.m. Eastern Time, which is the normal drop time for most shoes, for Travis drops, it's normally 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Those are the normal drops, so I would suggest checking the page around then as well. But keep in mind, it's very, very, very unlikely to cop manually, especially without a monitor, when it comes to undefeated.com or just any Shopify in general. Speaking of Shopify, you could also most likely expect Dover Street Market eFlash to drop as well. Again, very unlikely you're going to be able to cop here manually, though. Dover Street Market London should be 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Dover Street Market New York should be 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And I doubt you'll be able to cop manually, unfortunately, here, but I'm just presenting you guys these opportunities. It's up to you if you actually want to try. Soulbox would normally give you somewhat of a manual shop, but ever since they recently changed their site, it's been botted significantly more. So I really don't think manual is possible at all, unlike before where you did have a slight opportunity if you had a good monitor. Right now, it's really not looking too possible manually. You can also expect some restocks on mesh sites such as Size and Foot Patrol on Tuesday night, likely around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Size and Foot Patrol, of course, do raffles, but they do often do the restocks. You could try searching the mesh apps, see if anything pops up around that time. Of course, it's just a potential drop. You can check at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 a.m. Eastern Time. That's just the usual pattern that mesh follows for restocks. So yeah, unfortunately, that's essentially it. Not much more you could do aside from signing up for these raffles. Of course, we're going to try our best. We're going to see if we do get lucky and we're able to cop, but don't be too discouraged if you can't cop. There's going to be plenty other opportunities that are going to be much easier to cop that are also going to be profitable as well. Moving on to resale predictions, though, I think it's very, very simple when it comes to the men's pairs at the very least. Every single size will be very profitable with a great margin as well. Don't hesitate on any, go full throttle. Then regarding preschool and toddler, although preschool and toddler have less demand, of course, there is still plenty of room for profit. I highly suggest going for all sizes, including the preschool and toddler. The retails being lower here leaves sufficient room to profit when it comes to these, so don't hesitate. Regarding the clothing, since they're more unique in terms of the utility vibe, there will certainly be enough demand for these to at least get you some lunch money, hopefully more as well. I would suggest at the very least, if you're not comfortable taking risks like that, going for Nike sneakers, because Nike sneakers does have 100% free returns. You could even cancel within the first 30 minutes of the order, although you really shouldn't have to. And personally, I will be going for the clothing outside of the sneakers app as well, just because I think that there's good potential to make a little bit of profit on these. Nothing too crazy though. Regardless, the main focus of course here is the sneakers. Much more profit to be made there. Anyway, good luck on this drop. We'll certainly need it. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video or you perhaps learned a thing or two. Subscribe and enable post notifications just to stay 100% updated when it comes to any of these releases. With that, I'll see you guys later. Good luck. We're all taking L's, unfortunately. Have a great day.